like what you have seen at home. And so you mentioned Wrath of Man. This
Yes,
is so Guy Ritchie directed, Jason Statham starring, bam bam bam, kiss kiss bang bang. So tell us,
yes.
what is this all about?
This is um, my name, about a man played by
Hmm.
Jason Statham who gets a job at a security firm about 2 months after the security firm have been involved in a hold up where their main job is to transport cash from the shops and retailers, and they basically transport it in bulk from these retailers. They hold it in their storage wagons. They're like a Securicor if you're British,
Yep.
and then they then take it to the banks. But they're like this, they're the sort of the escorts for this huge sums of money. And
Yep.
one of the vans was held up, and two of the security guards and a member of the public were killed in this raid. And so he had this Jason Statham's character has come in to work for this firm when they're like basically still reeling in shock from this big hold up.
Yeah.
And so everyone who gets employed with them has to go through certain sort of skill tests. They have to be sort of able to handle themselves with weapons. They need to be able to handle themselves in a crisis. They sort of have all these different skill tests, and you have to score a minimum of like 70% in order to be employed. And if you have a background in security or background in any sort of police, then you have a bit of an advantage. And so Jason Statham's character is a man who has had a previous experience in security, so he gets a job with there, saying like, I know what the risks are. And then on a drive one day when he's on a job, they get held up,
Yep.
and instead of um, sort of responding as just as a sort of a civilian would, he basically turns into a different mode, and he basically is able to basically wipe out the entire gang of people who hold up their truck. And then suddenly, from being like a bit of an ordinary guy who sort of like just fits in with the rest, he suddenly has a man with extraordinary skills and not
Ooh.
expected. His sort of ability to shoot, he's able to handle himself in a crisis, is not panicking when the bullets are flying,
Yeah.
sets him a little bit apart. And then as the story unfolds, we begin to understand that there's more to Jason Statham's character than meets the eye, and that he has got a background, he's got a history, and then he has got a reason for being where he is.
Yep.
And as the story unfolds, all the different strands that you think are disconnected become maybe not so disconnected after all. And as Guy Ritchie likes to do, you know, all these things come together in a bit of an explosive um, event at the end.
Well, you see that Guy Ritchie. When you mentioned that, I still remember the scene in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels that sets to the music of Zorba the Greek, that just has like all these different people converging, and I still think that that's one of my favorite sort of like things of that.
That
So
moment.
yeah, so yeah, so Guy, so yeah, with this, I've seen the trailer for this, and
Yes,
I've
so
looked at and I thought this looks like it could be fun.
it is a fun film, yeah. And so, unlike his other Guy Ritchie other films, it's set in America, though Jason Statham keeps his own accent, so he has got a sort of English, an English British accent in it. So he just sounds like the state,
Because yeah, because he's tried doing the American before and it did not
and
work.
it always sounds a bit like the state doing an American accent. And so,
Trying to do one, yeah.
and there's a little bit where he tries to do the old banter. You know, in a lot of his films, there's a little bit of the oh, call blimey, governor. Banter going on, and it
Yeah,
doesn't quite work when you've got an American characters doing it. That sort of repartee didn't quite work
yeah,
because you know they're not London geezers; they're
yeah.
people who they've got there. So that is a quite there's like a type of the London geezer, and I think we've probably met them. You, I've certainly met them in my life, and so there is a type, and I think yeah, someone who's American just is not that type. I mean, they may have the equivalent, but it did for me that whole
it,
trying to get
it
that geezer bit in there didn't quite work for me.
well, it kind of grates.
Yeah, because I
It's
suddenly
like
thought this does not sound like your natural speech patterns. These sound like the sort of exchanges that have been introduced for the sake of a bit of humour, a little bit of banter.
yeah,
Whereas obviously good storytelling, it's the words that come out of the actor's mouth are supposed to feel spontaneous, like this is how they would talk
yeah,
because you just. But when it feels slightly affected, you think, no, I don't think you would say that in that
Mm.
circumstance, in
Yeah.
that way. That does not fit in with your cultural milieu. It just doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So every now and then, suddenly I'll be like going, no, that's a Guy Ritchie-ism you've thrown in there to make it more recognisably a Guy Ritchie film, but it's not true for those characters.
Okay.
But beside that, it's a bit of a romp. I mean, you know what you're getting with a Jason Statham film. He is going to beat someone mercilessly, and he's probably going to shoot people really casually. And he's going to display his particular set of skills in a Stath sort of way.
And
the odd one-liner.
Yeah,
Guy
and
Ritchie
probably
style.
probably have a scene with his shirt off.
Did he have a scene? I can't remember that.
Yeah, because I think you get to see Stace with his shirt off, but it isn't as notable as, let's say, when Chris Hemsworth has his shirt off.
Yeah.
It's or as Matthew McConaughey used to have it with his shirt off all the time.
He used to do the whole, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite that. I don't think I remember him in a state of undress in this.
All right. Okay. He's branching out. Cool. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So with all that,
Possibly. No, I don't think there was.
So with all that, what would you say about it? Like, how many stars would you give it?
I would certainly say it was certainly entertaining. So I would go with a respectful 3. I think it was good. It was entertaining. It's worth a watch. It's good to see some of the actors we know in some other roles, maybe subverting that a little bit, because some people who've always been like the good, wholesome, all American, suddenly a little bit nasty in this, which is quite nice to see.
Ooh.
So there's a few, it's not as predictable as you'd think. And yeah, the twists and turns in it are very good. Some of them improbable, but still entertaining. So I'd say, yeah, to me, it was completely entertaining. But I couldn't say it was elevated into an art form or anything to make it more than that. So I would say it's nothing. It was a good, healthy, respectable 3.
But I think that's what I don't. Because what I don't think that you want any more than that for an action film. For an action movie, you're like, yeah, a 3. Good, you've done it. Now
you've done it. Yeah.
I'll watch you kill a whole bunch of people. I'll not think about it, and then move on to the next thing. All right, cool.
Exactly.
So and now.